cedar is a very powerful, natural sort of note. Perfumes usually use some sort of woody note to ground the fragrance to make it more interesting, just add some personality. And cedar is one of the most popular wood options. The other ones are pine, fir, sandalwood, things like that. But cedar is a very distinct sort of smell, and it's kind of a dry, mature, elegant, firm sort of smell. And you can find it in quite a lot of perfumes. And I'll go through a small list here of fragrances that I think do a good job of using the cedar note. The first of which is a very, very popular option. This small sample of Baccarat Rouge. It's probably hard to see because it's smudged, but Baccarat Rouge 540 is kind of the top shelf sort of cedar perfume. Super luxurious, super... You don't get the cedar right away because it's in the base notes. You usually get the saffron right away, a few florals, and then the base notes consist of fir and cedar. And the cedar is very, very warm, very grounding. It mixes well with the saffron in the top notes to create this kind of slightly sweet, slightly spicy, woodsy fragrance. It's a very strong perfume. You don't need to use a lot to make a big splash in the room. And it's highly associated with luxury. It's a very high quality, high class sort of fragrance. So if you're looking for something unique, something that doesn't really smell like anything else and has a very prominent cedar note, then Baccarat Rouge 540 is a very good option, and it's a very classic French perfume. Then, a much older option is Taboo by Dana. This came out in, I believe, 1932. This is very, very strong, and it may not be for everyone because it has these smoky notes, incense notes, resin, spice, super, super heavy. Even though this is a cologne, it's not even a parfum, technically. It's just very light cologne, but it's still very strong. And probably because if they made it into an eau de parfum, it would probably blow up the room. So the thing with this is that it is a very niche fragrance. I would try to find a sample before you get the whole bottle because it is so specific to a person's preferences. Chances are, if you enjoy smoky, spicy, strong perfumes, you like this. The cedar in this is very warm and mixes well with all those other warm notes of the incense and the resin and amber and things like that. So definitely it does a good job of bringing the cedar note into it. I would say that the cedar is a little bit overshadowed by all those other strong notes, so it's not a pure, instantly recognizable cedar note, but it's still definitely there, and it really helps to ground the perfume. So then we have another very popular one, but much more modern, Versace Eros. This is a very classic men's fragrance, with actually two types of cedar wood. There's Virginian cedar and then there's Atlas cedar. And I personally can't tell the difference between the two types of cedar. I'm sure there are some very interesting differences between them, but in general, the overall cedar note is very prominent. It mixes well with the tonka bean and some of the other notes that Versace Eros has. And of course, since it's in the base notes, it will become clearer and more prominent later on as the perfume kind of gets adjusted into your skin. And the other very strong note is the vanilla, which is this kind of slightly sweet, kind of bourbon vanilla sort of thing. And that also pairs very well with the two types of cedar. So the cedar kind of offsets that sweetness from the vanilla, so it's not too crazy sweet. And that creates a really delicious sort of balance for the fragrance, which I really enjoy. Then there is Acqua di Gio. This is a much lighter sort of fragrance, pretty much unisex, huge list of notes. This is primarily a very fresh, light, kind of ocean breeze sort of thing. And you wouldn't expect a note like cedar and that sort of thing, because you have these ocean notes, citrus notes, lots of florals and herbs. But at the bottom of it all, there is cedar, and that cedar note becomes especially strong after about 30 minutes to an hour, because those lighter notes are going to fade out, and you're going to be left with this foundation of cedar. And it's a very kind of dry, not cold, but a firm sort of smell. And it's very pleasant. It keeps up with the whole natural vibe that Acqua di Gio is obviously going for. It complements with the herbal notes that it has, like rosemary. And in general, the cedar note in Acqua di Gio is very, very pleasant, and it's one of the longer lasting notes in the formulation. So if you're looking for something lighter, if you don't want something as heavy as Taboo or things like that, Acqua di Gio is a very nice, very neutral, natural sort of fragrance that you can wear, especially on spring or summer days. So the other one on this list is one that I don't have, called Armani Code Eau de Toilette, obviously by Giorgio Armani. I haven't had the chance to get this bottle for myself, but I know it's a very, very prominent sort of fragrance in general, and it has a very powerful cedar note. And it's a men's fragrance, but it has that kind of, it could be for women, it could be for men, it's very naturally unisex. It also has some very pleasant tonka bean to complement the cedar. So if you like tonka bean, you'll probably like that fragrance as well. So that's pretty much all I have to say about cedar fragrances. I'm sure there are more, but that's what I have to work with today. If you have any opinions about cedar fragrances, you could leave those down in the comments below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.